Hi everyone in DSG. Welcome to our DSG webinar series. We are very lucky today as we have our the team of Scholarcy all the way from London, joining us. How are you both, Emma and Phil?
We're great, thank you.
Very good, thanks.
It's great to be here.
Thank you. And actually, I'm actually very happy to host you this time, because it has been, I think, quite a while that we have, brought Scholarcy to doctorate support group, and a lot of people are curious, and a lot of people are talking, are saying, what is this? This is the new way of doing literature review. So maybe I want to invite Phil to come and share with us what is actually the story of Scholarcy. Phil, if you want to, start.
I'd be happy to. Thank you. So about 8 years ago, I was in a similar position to most of you here. I was doing a PhD, and I had to write a literature review as my first task in my first year, and I was also new to the subject. So I had a background in IT and software engineering, and I'd also worked in healthcare for a little bit. And so in my PhD, I was doing a subject called health informatics, which basically is applying IT to solving healthcare problems. But it was a new subject for me, and there was a lot of new literature that I wasn't familiar with. And so I had the same problem. I downloaded hundreds of papers, and they're all sitting in a folder on my computer, and I had to read through them, and I was printing them off, and I was going over them with a highlighter pen. I had a pink pen and I had a yellow pen, and it was really hard, and it was a painful process. And anyway, but I managed my PhD. I did finish it, and then I went to work for various different companies. And during that time, I learned a bit more about natural language processing. I learned to be a better programmer, and I gained new skills. And so it wasn't until 2 years ago that I had all the skills that I needed to build something like Scholarcy, because it had always been in my mind that I really wish I had something that solved the problem that I had back then, and I really wanted to solve this problem for other people. And it seemed to me that no one else was solving this problem. Publishers invest a lot of time in making their content discoverable, and you've got really good search now, and there's lots of different ways of getting hold of papers. But once you've got the paper, you've got the papers, you're on your own, aren't you? You've downloaded all these papers, what next? So I started building something that initially would take a PDF file. So you'd have a PDF document in your browser, and the idea was that you would click a button in your browser. So this became the Chrome extension, basically, and it would generate a little summary of the paper. It would pull out the main facts and findings, and it would also give you the links to the references and everything. So it started off quite small, really sort of basic functionality, and I gradually started building it from there. And then Emma and I used to work together at a startup called RefMe, which was a reference management software. And we got back in touch, and I said, look, I really need help with building this into a product. And so that was back in May 2018. And so we started working together to turn Scholarcy into the product that you now see in front of you.
Wow.
And it's, we're continually improving it, adding new features, improving the natural language processing engine. And so that's the story in a nutshell.
Thank you. And you know what? There are some students who come to me and say, why is it that only now that you discover Scholarcy? I say, well, at least we discover it now, rather than, maybe 2 years later. So, a lot of people are actually very happy that you developed this, because I believe that all postgraduate students have the same problem. And I can actually relate to what you're saying. You downloaded a lot of papers, and then you highlight them, and then suddenly you found that it can't even be used. I mean, it's not even relevant to your literature review. So so that was good. Right. So are we, I would like to talk to Emma now, because I think it's so cool as a lady being a co-founder of such a cool app like Scholarcy. So tell us something, Emma. Share with us. How is it like? Dealing with Scholarcy and the development.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because my background's commercial and marketing. So I worked for publishers, academic publishers, and discovery services and ed techs for a long time, but always in a commercial and marketing aspect. And so working closely with the researcher community, but from that sort of launching discovery services and analytics tools perspective. And what's lovely about being in a startup like this is that you're so close to the technology being developed, and that you have a hand in that. And you know, I'm certainly not a technology expert, but hopefully there's other ways that I bring my sort of skills and experience to the development of Scholarcy. So. And the lovely thing really is talking to researchers, seeing how they're using the tool and figuring out ways that we can make it more intuitive for them, and just help them more. So we love talking to researchers. So today is great.
Thank you. And actually, I believe Scholarcy has been traveling around in Facebook, because a lot of sharing is done, and and also we have done one video, I believe, with the IES team, with Casey and Yuva. So a lot of people are actually very interested to know more. So who shall I pass the screen to? Is it Emma or is it Phil?
Yes, so I'm going to now just do a quick demo of Scholarcy Library.
Okay.
So if I share my screen, just let me know.
Hang on. Yeah, it will appear down below, and I will add it to the stream. Right? Yeah. Yes, we can see it very clearly.
Great. Okay. So I'm just going to give you a very quick whistle-stop tour of Scholarcy Library. So a lot of you will be familiar with this view. So I'm in my library within Scholarcy, the Scholarcy application. And you'll see here, this is a test library, so I've got it populated with quite a few papers already. But when you first sign up to Scholarcy, you'll just have a blank screen, and you can start importing papers straight away. And so the first thing that I wanted to show you was that there's a number of ways that you can import papers into Scholarcy. So one of the quickest and easiest ways is just by clicking on this upload button. And what I'm going to do is just drag, sorry, give me 1 second. I'm just going to drag a test paper. So I'm going to choose this paper on plastic pollution. And I can either browse and upload that, or I can simply drag and drop that paper into the box here. And then when I do that, you'll see this little timer. So the paper's being uploaded, and then shortly it's appeared here as a summary flashcard. So that's the one way, a quick and easy way of uploading a paper. Another way, this is an open access paper, and I've got it open here in my browser. So I can also just copy and paste the URL and paste that here and click import. And there's another couple of ways. So you can also link directly to your Dropbox or Google Drive folders. And so if, for example, you had a folder full of papers, say a folder full of 10, 20 papers, you can connect Scholarcy to your Google Drive, go into Google Drive, and then select add to library next to a folder if you want to add an entire library, an entire folder of papers.
Yep, which I believe a lot of researchers already have their folders, somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so you've done all that research, you've been on a bunch of discovery tools, you've downloaded a myriad of papers that you need to somehow get through, and then you can upload them in batches and generate summaries for all of those papers in one go. It'll take a little bit longer than just uploading that single paper, but it won't take long. The other thing that's just worth mentioning is you can also upload a RIS file. So if you export a list of references from, say, your reference management software, EndNote or other, You can then upload that file into Scholarcy, and in a similar way, it'll generate summaries for every single referenced paper included in that file. So it would work in a very similar way. You would have a RIS file exported from your reference management tool, and you would just drag and drop it, or browse and select and upload it into Scholarcy. And again, it'll generate flashcards for each of those references. So that's just a quick overview on the ways that you can import documents into Scholarcy. Now what I want to do is just give you a bit more insight into the structure of the Scholarcy flashcard. So, and this is kind of the way to approach a flashcard to sort of incrementally build up your knowledge on the topic covered within the paper. So the first thing that you'll see is this uniform structure of tabs, and we're going to go through some of these briefly shortly. But at the very top of this flashcard, you'll see a link back to the original article. So we don't store the original paper. We do have the full text available, which I'll show you. But if you wanted to link back to that original paper, you'll always have the link here at the top of the flashcard. And then the first thing you get if you're new to the paper or even to the subject is this very brief pull quote, so this very brief one-sentence summary of what the paper's about. And then the next thing we'd recommend doing is just expanding the key concepts tab. So here what Scholarcy's done is pull out, extract what it considers to be the most important concepts and key terms from within the paper. And if I'm not familiar with one of those or less familiar with one of those, I can just click on that term. So this is microplastic ingestion, and it's going to take me, let me try another one. Subtropical gyre, which will hopefully take me, to the corresponding page in Wikipedia. So if I'm not familiar with that term, I can simply click on that term and find more information from Wikipedia.
Sorry, Emma. So it's like learning on the go. As you read, you can go to the. Okay.
Yeah,
that's useful. Okay.
The next place that we would recommend going after looking at the single sentence summary and the key concepts are the Scholarcy highlights. So what you'll find in this tab is usually around 5 or 6 of the key points from the paper, which include key findings, and they're broken down into this sort of neatly digested bullet point list. That you can quickly scan and again get the sort of the basic gist of the paper. The Scholarcy highlights also have hyperlinks to key terms. So again, in a similar way as I did just before, I could click on this Northern Hemisphere link and it would take me to a definition in Wikipedia. And the other thing that you'll see here is that these highlights are referenced. So here I just hovered over this particular reference, and if I wanted to, I could click on this and it would take me directly to that referenced paper. I'm going to show you that in a little bit more detail later. Then what we do is give you a longer structured summary of the paper. So this is broken down to reflect the structure of this particular paper. So here I get a summary of the introduction, the methods, results, and conclusion. So I'm just going into a little bit more depth here. Again, this is referenced, so I can link to all of the references included in this summary. And again, it includes key terms. So again, if I'm not familiar, as I go through the longer structured summary with a term, I can click on that. And then, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we also now include the main text of the article. So this is the article in full listed here. But as I say, you can always just link to that at the top of the flashcard as well.
Mm. Sorry, Emma, can I just ask you,
Yeah.
that since you're not storing the paper in Scholarcy server, so that means we can have unlimited number of papers in there, or what
Yes,
about the number of papers? So it's unlimited, right?
it is unlimited.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one thing I just wanted to show you here was this quick and easy way of expanding and collapsing the tabs. So if you've opened a few tabs and you want to just close them all, if you just click on this little button at the top left here, you can expand and collapse the sections. So very briefly, I wanted to show you another couple of aspects that the Scholarcy technology extracts. So one thing that we do is if there are any tables within the paper, we extract that data and we make it available to download into Excel. So this particular paper on plastic pollution in the ocean has got quite a few tables. And if you see at the bottom here, there's a link where I can download these tables to an Excel file. So I'm just doing that now. Oh, sorry, give me a second. Yeah, and can you see that? The Excel spreadsheet's opened with that tabular data.
Yep, can see it.
So you can save that, you can analyze that in more depth, but that's just available for you to study further or to use as part of your own research. And the other thing that we do is extract figures. So
I think it might be switched off in your settings.
Okay, unfortunately, I wonder if there's another. Let me just check if there's. Oh, sorry. Just give me 1 second. Okay, let's see if this one's working. Yeah, so for this particular paper, these aren't overly visual figures, but you'll get the gist. If I click on this particular figure, which it's extracted, I can see it in more detail here. So if you were viewing Scholarcy from a mobile phone or a tablet, or if you were reading the paper from scratch, it's often difficult to see these figures in any kind of detail. So what Scholarcy does is extract all of the figures from a paper and enables you to view them more clearly. So I'm just going to go back to my plastic pollution paper. And the last thing that I wanted to show you is the references section. So here you can see all of the references from the paper listed. There's a fair few in here. And there's various things that you can do in this section. So the first is that you can link to any of these papers directly. So if I click on this open access button here under this reference, what that will do is take me straight to the full text of that paper. So I don't have to bother manually searching for it. Scholarcy will let me link directly to that referenced paper. Mm-hmm. The other thing I can do, if I don't want to sort of waste time looking at or skim reading the full paper, I can just click on this little R here. And what Scholarcy's done there is pulled in the main findings of that paper that I just linked to. So it's screened that paper in the background and pulled out the main findings so that I can just simply get a very quick digest of that paper within the application without having to leave it. A couple of other things worth mentioning here is that we integrate with Cite AI. And for those of you not familiar with Cite AI, it performs sentiment analysis. So it'll tell you how many times a particular paper has been supported or refuted and cited overall. And we also link to the Crossref database as well. So that's the structure of the flashcard. Just a very quick section on organising research. So you can quickly, you'll see here down the left-hand side that I've got a series of libraries to structure my work. To create a new library, you just click on this little plus button next to my library, and it'll create a new library here, which I can rename as I choose. And it's as simple as that. So I've now got a new library that if this was a specific subject area, I could save all of my flashcards under that subject to this library.
Sorry, Emma, can I interject for a while? Because I remember some questions, from our current clients. So let's say I want to share my library with my supervisor. So does it mean that my supervisor need to also have the premium version, and then only then I'm able to share the library with the supervisor? Am I right?
Yes. So if I wanted to share my biomedical library with you, Anita, I just click the share button. I type in Anita, and yes, because you have an account, you would be able to access that. Okay. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Phil, but if I don't have an account, I'll still receive an email, and at that point, I would be able to create a Scholarcy account to access it.
That's right. If the person you're sharing with doesn't have an account, you can invite them to join, and it will ask them to.
Okay, but does it mean that the person that you invite to must also have a premium account, not free account, or?
That's correct. They do. Well, if they don't have one, they'll get an email inviting them to sign up for a premium account.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Because a lot of students are working away from the supervisors. So, some of them are saying, this is the best way for me to work together with my supervisor, having a shared library and having notes, right?
Yes.
So, thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's just it's very quick and easy to create new libraries if you want to categorize your work. And equally, within libraries, this is my biomedical library, it's very easy to create folders. So I've got a separate folder here to pull in all papers related to sleep. But if I want to create a new folder, I just click on the little green folder button and give it a name here. And that generates a new folder within my biomedical library. So these are just all ways to help you organize and search for flashcards. The other thing that you can do in terms of organization is you can drag and drop papers. So if you want to bring a paper to the top of your list within a library, then that's easy just to drag and drop. And you can move flashcards from one library to another. So I just check the box of this particular one, and I'm going to move that to test library. And then I just click on this move button, and that has taken that to my test library. And if you've built up quite a substantial library of flashcards and you want to search quickly, you can type in a key term here. So I'm going to type in iron, and that will bring up any paper or any flashcard rather that has the phrase iron within the paper or the summary. Okay. Just a couple of things that are worth mentioning. So you can export flashcards to Word. So if I just open this plastic pollution flashcard again, I can click on export to doc, and that's going to give me the contents of the flashcard in a Word document that I can, again, just edit, save, share.
And a lot of students are giving feedback that this is the number one feature that they like. Because,
interesting.
Yeah, so they're able to download and then read them, during their free time. So this is the best one so far. So yeah.
Great. That's good to know. The other thing that you can do is add notes to a flashcard. So it's as easy as just typing and then clicking the add note box, and that saves the note to the flashcard. And then if I then exported that flashcard, it would also export my notes as well. And I can see my notes here, just in this little, this note tab. And the last thing that I wanted to show you, because I know we haven't got a huge amount of time, is a new feature, which is our RSS Feeds feature. And so what this enables you to do is create a folder and link it to an RSS feed, so that papers on a specific subject of your choosing are being pulled in by Scholarcy continually in the background, so you don't have to do anything. It's pulling in a continuous stream of papers that you can review as regularly as you like, and delete the papers that aren't particularly relevant and keep the ones that are useful. But what that really does is it saves the sort of the manual intervention. So it saves you going in and manually searching and uploading papers, and it means that you're just automating the population of your library. So I'm going to show you how to set one of those up.
Okay.
So I just create a new folder here, and I'm going to call this Nature. And then I click on the little RSS button. And what I'm going to do is link to this Nature Medicine feed. So I'm just going to copy that link. Click on the RSS button next to my Nature folder. Click subscribe. Enter that URL and subscribe. And then I'm going to open that folder, and I think this may take a little time to start populating, but
it runs in the background every 10 or 15 minutes. So
yeah, but in the next few minutes that will start filling up with folders with summarized papers from that particular RSS feed.
I think that's very useful, because when you do that, then the related papers will come to you and get summarized, right? If I understand that correctly. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So it's kind of happening automatically in the background, the summarization of those papers.
Most journals now have an RSS feed button on their website, and you can click on it and it gives you the address that you need to put in, as Emma showed you there. So Nature has them for each of their journals, and you get that little URL that you put in, and then it will go and pick them up.
Okay.
So I'm going to hand over to Phil just to show you a very new development, which should hopefully help with the literature review. So I'll just stop sharing.
Thanks, Emma. So I'm going to do a quick demo as well, and then when I'm done, Emma's Nature feed should have appeared, and we can just see the results of that as well, if that's okay, Emma.
Yeah.
Right. So what I'm going to I'm just going to share my screen.
Okay.
So I've got an empty library here. So this is a new feature that literally was just built yesterday, so it's quite experimental. We're still fine-tuning it. But quite often you want to do a literature search and then bring the results into your software. It might be your reference manager, and in this case it's going to be Scholarcy. So for example, say you're doing studying a medical subject, you're typically going to be searching on PubMed for new papers. So I've just put in a simple search query here, and I've just looked for ones about clinical trials published in the last year. So I've got 11 results to this search query. And what I can do now is export these results to Scholarcy, and it's going to generate a summary card for each of these search results. So to do this, I do send to Citation Manager, and that's going to download a file that's just there on my computer at the bottom there. So I'm going to import that now into my Scholarcy library. So click on here. This is the file that came out of PubMed. So it's the list of those search results, basically. Now, what this is going to do is a bit like the RSS feed feature that Emma demonstrated. In the background, it's going to try to find all those papers and find the full text of those papers and turn them into Scholarcy flashcards. And it's going to do this in the background. So I can do other things while that's doing it. I can, in theory, I can create a new library. I can create a folder. I can read other documents. In the background, it's going to be filling up my library with papers. So this is always the danger of doing a live demo of a new piece of functionality, isn't it? There we go. Right, so it's getting a bit overloaded. So it started to bring in those papers now into this library. So that's the first search result. So rather than me having to manually try to, there's that paper there. So what I would have normally had to do is go to this paper, click download, find this paper, get the full text, and then import it into Scholarcy. So this has automated that process. All I needed was to download the search results to that file, as I did there, and then import that into my library. So while I've been talking, yeah, we go, it's done the rest of them now. So yeah, so you can do that. And then you've got the full text of the paper as a Scholarcy summary card. So you've got the key concepts, you've got the highlights, and the references and everything else. So it's a quick way of getting a lot of papers into your library. Now we're going to have to put a limit on this because it uses a lot of computing power. So what we'll probably do is allow it to do like the first 128 papers. Because the reason for that is you might do a search, if I change this to 5 years, that has thousands of results. Now, if you were to import this in one go into your library, it would take a long time, and it would make the size of the folder too big. So we can't really let you do that in one operation, in one go. So we're probably going to have to limit that to maybe 128 at a time. But it's a brand new feature, so try it out and let us know what you think.
Okay.
So yeah, that should have filled up with all of them there. So there's your papers pulled in. So I'm gonna hand back to Emma, and hopefully the results of her automatic feed will also be ready as well.
Great, thanks, Phil.
Okay.
Yes, just give me 1 second. Okay. Are you able to see that?
Yeah.
So this is my RSS feeds, and this is the Nature folder that I just set up. And yeah, you can see that that's started importing medical papers from this Nature RSS feed here. So if there's one of particular interest, if the paper, if it can only read the abstract, then it will only summarize the abstract. So some of these maybe, if they're abstracts, then the summaries will be relatively, summary flashcards will be a little bit limited, but that depends on the full text of the paper being available. Okay, so shall we take some questions? Would that be good?
Yes, thank you, Emma. So I'm just gonna share with you. So the audience, to the audience in DSG, if you have any questions, you can simply come to the comment section and then ask. I'm just gonna share, some feedback here. So Shiken is saying it's really helpful as it helps to direct to the full text paper in reference. So yeah, I believe that's one bit that people like. And then Sutashini is saying the best part is you can share the entire folder with others, the shared library. Yeah, so I think a lot of supervisors, a lot of research teams, can actually take advantage of this, right? And then I think a lot of them, a lot of us are working remotely from each other, and especially during COVID-19, where we are not working together. Okay, if I can just see some questions, not here, but I do have one question in my group here, in the WhatsApp group. Some of them are asking, they have tried to upload other papers which is not in English. So obviously, Scholarcy is made for English papers, right? So if it's like in Malay or in Arabic, it can do the work, it can summarize, but it's not the totals, summary. So do you have an answer to that? Obviously, it is for English papers, yeah?
It is really. So there's a number of different steps that Scholarcy does when it analyzes a paper. And at the moment, it uses some machine learning models that do really only work with English. Some of the summaries will work with other languages, but most of it will really only work with English, I'm afraid, at the moment. You can certainly upload a paper that's in Arabic or Malay, and it will do its best, but that's probably something that we need to develop in future to improve. So if there's a demand for that, let us know, and we can work to improve on that.
Okay, thank you.
There's lots of different languages, and so we would have to know which ones to prioritize. As we've got lots of users in Malaysia now, then maybe Malay is one that we should prioritize. So
thank you. So and a lot of clients, a lot of students are also very happy with the translation, translate feature, which is in Google Chrome. And as English is our second language, so some of the terms, it's just so helpful to read them in our native language. And among the feedback is, wow, thank you for that translation feature in Scholarcy. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's related to the Google Translate feature in Chrome. Yeah.
It's using Google Translate, yes.
Okay. But it is actually quite, because I've tried one or two papers, and it is actually quite accurate. So, to the level of understanding, it is quite accurate. So thank you for that. Right. So I believe they are all, I don't know why, normally there'll be like 6 or 10 questions. I think they are so in awe with the software, I believe. Nobody gets any questions, but that's all right, because I always have some feedback form, for the students in the SG. If they have any questions or if they have any comments or feedback, they can come to us, and then we can feed it back to you. So thank you so much, Phil and Emma, for your time today, because I've been telling my team, it's so difficult to arrange a webinar when the time is not, the time zone is so far apart. But then, but because of you agreed to this, and a lot of people are happier, I can say.
We're very happy to be here. It's great to meet you all in your team, and thank you to everyone in the doctorate support group for.
Yes, thank you. And if you have any questions at all, please get in touch.
I will. Thank you so much, Emma. So I'm just going to end this webinar, and I'll send you the recording of this, because this will also be uploaded in YouTube, simply because there are also other people outside doctorate support group who would have, who want to watch this later on. Yeah. So thank you, Emma. Thank you, Phil. So so hopefully a lot more students can discover Scholarcy and use it in their literature review. So bye, everyone. So
bye.
Bye.
Cheers.
Right.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.